1 second, Ursula Rain was cruising down Brickell Avenue on her beat-up Honda motorcycle, 5 dozen eggs carefully secured in the delivery box behind her. The next second, a midnight blue Rolls-Royce Phantom came out of nowhere, so close she could see her own terrified reflection in its tinted windows. The impact wasn't even direct, just a brush. Just the massive vehicle's side mirror clipping hers, sending shattered plastic flying like confetti. But at 40 miles per hour, a brush is enough. Ursula's handlebars jerked violently to the right. Her front wheel wobbled. She overcorrected, felt the bike tipping, and then she was airborne. Time slowed down the way it does in moments of pure disaster. She saw the sky, blue and cloudless, completely indifferent to the fact that she was about to become a smear on Miami asphalt. She saw her delivery box flying open, eggs scattering like they were trying to escape the crash too. She saw the Rolls-Royce continuing down the street without so much as a tap on the brakes. Then time sped back up, and Ursula hit the ground. Years of martial arts training saved her life. Instead of landing flat and breaking every bone in her body, she tucked and rolled, absorbing the impact across her shoulder and back, coming up in a crouch like her father had taught her 1,000 times. Pain exploded across her left side. Her palms were shredded, her shoulders screamed. But she was alive. Her motorcycle was not so lucky. It lay on its side 10 feet away, front wheel still spinning, side mirror completely gone, scratches carved deep into the paint she couldn't afford to fix. Around her, eggs were everywhere. Broken shells, unsplattered yolks, the golden mess spreading across the asphalt like some kind of sick modern art installation. Half her delivery, gone. That delivery was her rent money. Ursula slowly stood up. Her body protested every movement. Her long, brown, kinky locks had come loose from their ponytail and hung in her face, and she shoved them back with bloody hands. The Rolls-Royce was almost at the end of the block now. It hadn't slowed down, hadn't stopped. The driver had nearly killed her and just kept going. Something inside Ursula Rain snapped. She limped to her motorcycle, righted it with strength she didn't know she had, and threw her leg over the seat. The engine coughed, sputtered, then roared to life, and Ursula gave chase. Inside the Rolls-Royce, Tristan Strefield had no idea he'd just changed the course of his entire life. He was too busy being furious. "What do you mean construction can't start today?" His voice was a controlled snarl, the kind that made his employees nervous and his competitors nauseous. He pressed his fingers against his temple, trying to massage away the headache that had been building since 6 a.m. "I have permits, I have contractors, I have a timeline that does not include the words, 'can't start today.'" The voice on the other end of the line, Garrett, his site foreman, sounded like he was trying to explain nuclear physics to a toddler. "Mr. Strefield, I understand your frustration, but the city inspector found an issue with the foundation permits and—" "The heck with what the inspector found." Tristan's fist slammed against the leather armrest. "I'm coming down there right now. You tell that inspector to stay exactly where he is because I have words for him. Many words. None of them pleasant." He hung up before Garrett could respond. Outside the window, Miami blurred past in streaks of palm trees and pastel buildings. Tristan didn't notice any of it. His head was pounding. His blood pressure was probably somewhere in the danger zone. And now his entire construction timeline was falling apart because some city bureaucrat had found an issue. His reflection stared back at him from the tinted window. Perfectly styled black curly hair falling artfully over one eye. Flawless light brown skin, the face that had graced 300 magazine covers in the last decade. Today, he was wearing a white silk shirt under a blazer threaded with actual gold, cream trousers tailored to mathematical perfection, and an Italian leather shoes that cost more than most people's monthly salary. He looked like a god. He felt like garbage. His phone buzzed. Solange. "Missing you, baby. Dinner tonight?" He ignored it. He didn't have the energy for Solange right now. She was beautiful and convenient and absolutely incredible in bed, but she was also exhausting in ways he didn't want to examine too closely. Another buzz. His mother. "The Beaumont dinner is Saturday. Solange is expecting you to confirm. Don't embarrass me." He ignored that one too. The Rolls-Royce slowed, and Tristan looked up to see the massive glass structure that would become the flagship store for Kingsley Lux. His fashion empire. His legacy. The thing that would outlast his pretty face when the modeling industry inevitably decided he was too old to matter. He'd watched his mother make the mistake of thinking the money would never stop. Barbara Strefield had been stunning in the 90s. Magazine covers, runway shows, designer contracts. She'd spent every dime as fast as it came in, certain that the fountain would never run dry. Then she hit 40. Then the calls stopped coming. Then she had nothing. Tristan refused to be his mother. Modeling was a means to an end. Every paycheck, every endorsement, every appearance fee went into building something that would last. Kingsley Lux was that something. And right now, that something was sitting unfinished because some city inspector had found an issue. "We're here, sir," his driver, Marcus, announced. Tristan was out of the car before it fully stopped, already scanning the construction site for Garrett's face. He spotted him near the entrance, clipboard in hand, looking like he wanted to be anywhere else on the planet. Good. He should be nervous. Tristan stalked toward him, every step radiating the kind of controlled fury that had made him famous in boardrooms across the country. He was 3 feet away from Garrett when he heard it. The sound of a motorcycle engine, revving, angry, getting closer. He turned just in time to see a Honda motorcycle screech to a halt directly behind his Rolls-Royce. A woman climbed off, and even from this distance, Tristan could see she was furious. She was also covered in what appeared to be eggs? No, wait. She was covered in dirt and blood. Her palms were scraped raw. Her clothes, all black, head to toe, like she was attending a funeral for someone she was glad had died, were torn in several places. Her long brown locks swung behind her as she marched toward him, and her dark eyes were burning with a rage that actually made Tristan take a step back. Behind her, he noticed the motorcycle, the missing side mirror, the scratches. Oh no. Ursula had never been this angry in her life. She'd been angry when her father got arrested. She'd been angry when her mother left without a word. She'd been angry every single time a job interview ended with, "We've decided to go another direction," because her background check came back with Leo Rain's mugshot attached to her name. But this was a new kind of fury. This man, this ridiculously dressed, absurdly handsome man in his gold-threaded blazer and his pretty boy hair, had nearly killed her. He'd destroyed half her delivery. He'd wrecked her motorcycle. And he hadn't even bothered to stop. She marched right up to him, ignoring the construction workers who were starting to gather, ignoring the driver who was stepping out of the Rolls-Royce with concern on his face, ignoring everything except the target of her rage. "You." She stopped 2 feet away, chest heaving, bloody hands clenched into fists. "Your car almost killed me." The man blinked. Up close, he was even more irritatingly beautiful. Dark eyes that sparkled with intelligence, perfect bone structure, lips that were currently pressed into a thin line of displeasure. He looked like he'd stepped out of a magazine. He also looked like he had absolutely no idea what she was talking about. "I'm sorry," he said slowly, in the tone of someone who was not remotely sorry. "Do I know you? You should. Your car ran me off the road 5 minutes ago, clipped my mirror, made me crash, destroyed my delivery." She gestured at herself, at the egg residue still clinging to her clothes and hair. "Look at me." He did look at her. His gaze traveled from her egg-splattered locks to her scraped face, to her torn black tank top, to her black cargo pants, to her black combat boots. His expression shifted from confusion to something that looked almost like physical pain. "I'm looking," he said, and his voice had taken on a strange quality. "And I have to say, even without the eggs, what you're wearing is... It's what? It's depressing. Aggressively depressing. Are you going to a funeral? Is the funeral for color itself? Did color die and nobody told me?" Ursula stared at him. She had just nearly died. Her motorcycle was destroyed, and her rent money was splattered across Brickell Avenue in the form of scrambled potential. And this man, this infuriating, arrogant, impossibly beautiful man, was critiquing her outfit? "Are you serious right now?" "I'm always serious about fashion. It's literally my job." He gestured at the glass building behind him. Kingsley Lux. Perhaps you've heard of it. We make clothes that acknowledge the existence of the color spectrum. Your car almost killed me. So you keep saying. He turned to his driver. Marcus, did we hit someone? Marcus looked uncomfortable. There may have been a slight bump a few blocks back, sir. I thought it was a pothole. A pothole. Ursula's voice had gone dangerously quiet. He thought I was a pothole. An easy mistake, the beautiful idiot in the gold blazer said. You were apparently driving something that, based on the sound that engine is making, should have been retired around the same time as disco. And dressed in all black on a Miami afternoon, you practically blend into the asphalt. Ursula felt her eye twitch. You're going to pay for my damages, she said. My mirror, my motorcycle repairs, and the 30 eggs you destroyed. That's my delivery. That's my rent money. You're going to pay for all of it. He sighed like she was boring him, like she was a minor inconvenience in his very important day. Look, Miss Rain. Ursula Rain. Miss Rain, I have a construction crisis to deal with, as you may have noticed from the very large building behind me that is not currently being constructed. I don't have time for this. Take your... He waved his hand at her dismissively. Art your smelly egg self somewhere else and be grateful your sad little bike got the honor of touching my car. The honor. The honor. And while you're at it, he continued, already turning away, consider introducing some color into your wardrobe. All that black is giving Wednesday Addams at a discount store. Consider it free advice from someone who actually knows fashion. He started walking toward the construction site. He was dismissing her. Just like that. Nearly killing her, destroying her livelihood, and walking away like she was nothing. Like she was invisible. Like she was just another poor nobody that rich people could run over without consequences. Something in Ursula's brain went very quiet. The part of her that made rational decisions, and the part that reminded her she had 47 days until graduation and couldn't afford trouble. That part went completely silent. What remained was 3 years of fury. 3 years of being treated like less than nothing because of her father's choices. 3 years of being rejected, ignored, dismissed. 3 years of people looking right through her like she didn't exist. She looked at the Rolls-Royce. Pristine. Gleaming. Probably worth more than she'd make in her entire lifetime. She looked at what remained of her delivery box. Half the eggs were gone, but the other half were right there. Ursula walked very calmly to her motorcycle. She opened the damaged delivery box. She removed a full crate of eggs, 30 perfect, unbroken eggs that she was supposed to deliver to a high-end restaurant in the design district. And she walked toward the Rolls-Royce. Ursula Rain had never done a single impulsive thing in her life. She was careful, calculated. She had to be. When your father's mugshot follows you everywhere, you learn to keep your head down and your profile low. But every person has a breaking point. And that arrogant, dismissive, fashion-obsessed billionaire in his ridiculous gold blazer had just found hers. Ursula stopped in front of the Rolls-Royce. The hood was still warm from the engine. She cracked the first egg directly onto the Spirit of Ecstasy hood ornament. The little silver lady was suddenly wearing a yoke hat. Hey! The shout came from behind her. Marcus, the driver. She ignored him. Second egg. This one she threw at the windshield. It hit with a deeply satisfying splat. Third egg. Fourth egg. Fifth. Stop her! Somebody stop her! That was the arrogant one. Tristan, whatever his name was. She could hear him running back toward her, designer shoes slapping against concrete. She didn't stop. Sixth egg. Seventh. The hood was becoming a masterpiece of destruction. 3 security guards materialized from somewhere, probably the construction site. They converged on her from different angles, clearly expecting an easy takedown. They did not get one. The first guard grabbed her arm. Ursula didn't even look at him. She just shifted her weight, grabbed his wrist, and used his momentum to flip him over her hip. He landed flat on his back with a sound like a deflating balloon. The second guard came from her left. She swept his legs out from under him without breaking her egg-throwing rhythm. Eighth egg. He hit the ground hard. The third guard actually managed to get his arms around her from behind. She stomped on his instep, drove her elbow into his solar plexus, and when he doubled over, she grabbed his arm and put him in a joint lock that had him tapping out immediately, all while continuing to throw eggs with her free hand. What the? Tristan Striffield had stopped running. He was standing 10 feet away, beautiful face slack with shock, watching his 3 security guards groaning on the ground while a woman half their size systematically destroyed his $250,000 vehicle. 9th egg. 10th. She was really getting into a rhythm now. "Are you insane?" he shouted. "Probably," she shouted back, cracking number 11 directly onto his windshield wiper. "But at least I'm not rude." 12th egg. 13th. The crate was getting lighter when Tristan took a step toward her, and she turned to face him fully for the first time since the egg assault began. Something in her expression made him stop, then step back, then stumble and fall directly onto his rear end in his $4,000 outfit. She stood over him, the remaining eggs cradled in one arm, yolk dripping from her hands, breathing hard. "You," she said quietly, "ran me off the road. You destroyed my delivery. You wrecked my motorcycle. And when I came to you asking for basic decency, for acknowledgement that you had harmed another human being, you insulted my clothes and told me to be grateful." She cracked the final egg directly onto his windshield. "Be grateful yourself that I'm out of eggs." For a long moment, nobody moved. The security guards had stopped trying to get up. The construction workers were frozen in place, several of them recording on their phones. Marcus, the driver, looked like he was reconsidering his career choices. And Tristan Striffield sat on the ground in his designer suit, staring up at her like she was the most confusing thing he had ever encountered. Then he did something unexpected. He laughed. Not a mocking laugh. Not a "you're crazy" laugh. A genuine, surprised, almost delighted laugh that transformed his entire face. And even more unexpectedly, he reached into his jacket, pulled out his wallet, and extracted a thick wad of cash. "Here." He threw it at her feet. "Take it and leave." Ursula looked at the money, then at him, then back at the money. She picked it up, counted it carefully. "My delivery was worth $47. My mirror will cost about $60 to replace. Mom, this is $2,000. Consider the extra an apology. I don't take what I'm not owed." She peeled off exactly $110. Then, very deliberately, she tucked it into her bra. The remaining bills, over $1,800, she threw directly at his chest. They scattered across his white silk shirt. Several stuck to the egg residue on his blazer. One landed on his face. Tristan Striffield didn't move. "I don't want your money," Ursula said. "All I wanted was basic human decency, and you couldn't even give me that." She turned and walked back to her motorcycle. She climbed on, started the engine. It coughed and complained, but held together. And she drove away without looking back. If you're thinking right now that Ursula just made an enemy for life with one of the most powerful men in Miami, type, "Run, Ursula." But if you think that laugh meant something else entirely, if you think this arrogant billionaire might actually be intrigued, type, "He's hooked." Let me know in the comments, because this story is just getting started, and I need to know whose side you're on. And smash that subscribe button right now, because trust me, you don't want to miss what happens next. Tristan Striffield was scrambling to his feet. Bills were falling off his designer clothes. Egg yolk was drying on his Rolls Royce. His security guards were still groaning. But his eyes, those dark, sparkling eyes that had charmed millions of fans across the world, were fixed on her disappearing motorcycle with an expression that was definitely not anger. It was fascination. "Sir?" Marcus had finally found his voice. Should I call the police?" Tristan didn't respond immediately. He was still staring at the end of the block where Ursula had disappeared around a corner. "Sir?" "No." The word came out slowly, thoughtfully. "No police. But she destroyed your car. She assaulted your security team. They'll live." He brushed off his blazer, dislodging several $100 bills. "Get someone out here to clean the Phantom, and someone else to review the security footage." "The footage?" "I want to watch her take down those 3 guards again." A strange smile crossed his face. From multiple angles, preferably. Marcus stared at him like his employer had lost his mind, which, to be fair, was a reasonable assumption. Also, Tristan continued, as if he hadn't just said something completely insane, I want to know everything about that woman. You know, her full name, her address, her job, her family, her shoe size if you can get it, though based on those combat boots, I doubt she's ever considered aesthetics in her footwear choices. Sir, with respect, she just cracked eggs on your car. Tristan's smile widened. She only took exactly what she was owed, Marcus, not a penny more. Do you know how many people do that? No, sir. Neither do I. Because no one does that. Everyone wants more. Everyone takes what they can get. He looked at the egg-splattered Rolls-Royce, and something in his expression shifted. She threw my money back at me. She literally threw $1,800 at my face and walked away. That does seem unusual. Unusual? Tristan laughed again, that same surprised, delighted sound. It's unheard of. It's unprecedented. He trailed off. But Marcus could fill in the blank. Interesting. And if there was one thing Marcus knew about his employer after 5 years of service, it was this. When Tristan Strefield found something interesting, he didn't let it go. Ever. Now let me tell you all about Ursula Rain, because you need to understand exactly who we're dealing with here. She wasn't always a delivery driver with a gothic wardrobe and a right hook that could level grown men. Once upon a time, she was Ursula Rain, rising star of the Miami martial arts circuit. Daughter of Leo Rain, legendary instructor, owner of 3 successful dojos, the man who had trained champions. Her apartment told the story of who she used to be and who she'd become. It was tiny. A studio in Overtown that cost $900 a month. Cheap by Miami standards, astronomical by hers. The walls were covered with a chaotic mix of Mandarin study notes and anime posters. Attack on Titan, Jujutsu Kaisen, One Piece, Demon Slayer. Her heroes now were fictional, two-dimensional, safe. A countdown calendar hung by her bed. On 47 days until graduation. 47 days until she could leave Miami behind forever. She'd been studying Mandarin for 3 years, ever since her life fell apart. Chinese was her escape plan. Once she graduated, she'd move to Shenzhen, teach English, start completely over in a country where nobody knew her name or her father's mugshot or the shame that followed her everywhere. Just 47 more days. Her closet, small as it was, told its own story. Black. Everything was black. Black jeans, black cargo pants, black tank tops, black hoodies, black leather jacket, black combat boots. A few items ventured into dark charcoal or deep navy, but nothing brighter. Nothing that drew attention. Nothing that said, look at me. Ursula Rain had spent 3 years trying to disappear. Her wardrobe was her camouflage. The brown lipstick on her dresser was her one rebellion. A small pop of warmth against all that darkness. Her signature. The one thing she refused to give up. Right now, her phone was blowing up. Maren had texted 17 times since Ursula had gotten home, showered the egg out of her hair, bandaged her scraped palms, and collapsed on her bed to contemplate her life choices. Maren, did you really throw eggs at a car? Maren, please tell me you're joking. Maren, Ursula. Maren, Ursula, Maren, I'm seeing videos. Maren, there are videos. Maren, you're on the internet. Maren, did you know that car belongs to Tristan Strefield? Maren, the Tristan Strefield. Maren, the supermodel. Maren, the billionaire. Maren, the literal most beautiful man alive according to People magazine. Maren, Ursula, answer your phone. Ursula stared at the messages. Then she picked up her phone and called her best friend. Maren answered before the first ring finished. Are you out of your mind? Probably. Ursula, I love you. You know I love you. But you just threw eggs at the car of one of the most powerful men in Florida. There are videos, multiple angles. You're going viral. Viral? Ursula sat up, stomach dropping. What do you mean viral? I mean there were construction workers filming. Someone already posted it. You've got like 50,000 views in the last hour. Maren's voice was a mixture of horror and something that sounded almost like admiration. You knocked out 3 security guards while throwing eggs. People are calling you Egg Girl. Some are calling you a hero. Some are calling you insane. Everyone is asking who you are. Ursula's blood went cold. She couldn't go viral. She couldn't be in the public eye. She'd spent 3 years being invisible specifically to avoid exactly this situation. Oh no. Oh yes, and it gets worse. Do you even know who Tristan Streefield is? Some rich guy in a stupid jacket. Some rich... Marin made a strangled sound. He's a supermodel, like globally famous. He's been on the cover of literally every major magazine. He has his own fashion empire. He's worth almost $2 billion. His face is on billboards. I literally saw his face on a bus this morning advertising cologne. Good for him. His personality is still trash. His mother is Barbara Streefield, former supermodel. His father was Maurice Kingsley, the jazz legend who died like 15 years ago. He has an obsessive fan base. People literally follow him around with cameras. And you just publicly destroyed his car. Ursula lay back down on her bed and stared at the ceiling. She'd made a very powerful enemy. But even as panic started to set in, another part of her, the stubborn, defiant part that had kept her going through 3 years of rejection and shame, couldn't bring itself to regret what she'd done. He'd deserved it. He'd looked right through her like she was nothing. Like she was just another poor person to step over on his way to his important rich person problems. He'd insulted her clothes, while she stood there bleeding from a crash he'd caused. If she had to do it again, she'd throw twice as many eggs. Ursula, you still there? I'm here. What are you going to do? Nothing. I'm going to do nothing. I'm going to lie low, finish my last semester, then hope this blows over before anyone connects Egg Girl to Ursula Rain, daughter of convicted bank robber Leo Rain. Silence on the other end. Marin? Someone already did. Ursula's heart stopped. There's a comment on one of the videos. Someone recognized you from the old news coverage. They linked your dad's mugshot. Of course they did. 3 years of keeping her head down. 3 years of working delivery jobs that didn't require background checks. 3 years of building toward an escape, and in one moment of justified fury, she'd destroyed everything. I have to go, Ursula said quietly. She hung up. For a long moment, she just lay there, staring at the ceiling, feeling the weight of everything pressing down on her. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She ignored it. It buzzed again. And again. Finally, she picked up. Miss Rain. The voice was smooth, professional. My name is Elliot Huang. I'm the executive assistant to Tristan Streefield. Ursula closed her eyes. Mr. Streefield would like to meet with you. Tomorrow. His office. Not interested. He anticipated you might say that. He asked me to mention that he's prepared to offer compensation for the distress caused by today's incident. Significant compensation. I already took what I was owed. I don't want anything else from him. A pause. When Elliot spoke again, there was something like surprise in his voice. That's exactly what he said you'd say. Great, then we're done here. Miss Rain, wait. He also asked me to mention that he's aware your father is Leo Rain, currently incarcerated for armed robbery. And he's aware your mother left the family 3 years ago. He's aware you've had difficulty finding stable employment due to these circumstances. Ursula's hand tightened on the phone. Is that a threat? No, absolutely not. Elliot sounded genuine. It's context. Mr. Streefield isn't interested in threatening you. He's interested in... Well, to be honest, I don't entirely understand what he's interested in. I've worked for him for 4 years, and I've never seen him react to anyone the way he reacted to those videos. I don't care how he reacted. You might, because whatever he's planning, I don't think ignoring him is going to make him go away. Another pause. Tomorrow, Kingsley Luck's headquarters, 2 p.m. At least hear what he has to say. Ursula should say no. She should hang up and block this number and hope the whole thing blew over. But she had a feeling just ignoring him won't make him go away. Fine, she said. Tomorrow, 2 p.m., but I'm not promising anything. Understood. And Miss Rain? What? Between you and me? Elliot's voice dropped to a conspiratorial whisper. Watching you throw those eggs on his car was the highlight of my entire year. See you tomorrow. He hung up. Ursula stared at her phone. What had she gotten herself into? If you're thinking right now that Ursula is walking into a lion's den by going to meet a man who could easily destroy her entire life, type, "Run, Ursula," in the comments. But if you think he might actually have something interesting to offer, if you caught that fascination in his eyes, type, "I'm behind you, Ursula." Either way, let me know because this story's about to take a turn that none of us saw coming. The next afternoon, Ursula Rain walked into Kingsley Luck's headquarters wearing what she always wore. Black. Black skinny jeans tucked into black combat boots. A fitted black turtleneck that hugged her athletic frame. Her black leather jacket over top, slightly worn at the elbows but still sharp. Her long brown locks were pulled back into a sleek ponytail. Her signature brown lipstick was perfect. She looked good. She knew she looked good. Dark and sharp and unbothered. The aesthetic she'd cultivated for 3 years. But she was walking into a fashion empire, and she could already imagine how it would go. The lobby of Kingsley Luck's was everything she'd expected and worse. Soaring ceilings, marble floors, but impossibly beautiful people walking around in clothes that probably cost more than her annual income. Display cases featuring designs from Tristan Streefield's various fashion lines. Bold colors, luxurious fabrics, emeralds and golds and crimsons and whites. Blacks in few pieces. Ursula felt like a shadow in a room full of rainbows. She approached the reception desk with her chin held high. The receptionist, a stunning black woman in a tailored lavender dress, looked up with a professional smile. Her gaze swept over Ursula's outfit, and something flickered in her expression. Not quite judgment. More like mild surprise. "Can I help you?" Ursula Rain. "I have a meeting with Tristan Streefield." The receptionist's perfectly sculpted eyebrows rose just slightly. "You're the 2 o'clock?" "That's what I said." "I see." The receptionist typed something into her computer, expression carefully neutral. "Mr. Streefield's assistant will be down to escort you. Please have a seat." Ursula didn't sit. She stood in the center of that prismatic lobby in her all-black ensemble, and she refused to feel out of place. 3 minutes later, the elevator doors opened and a Chinese-American man in an immaculate gray suit stepped out. He was around 30, with sharp eyes and an expression that suggested he found everything around him mildly amusing. "Miss Rain?" He extended his hand. "Elliot Huang. We spoke on the phone. You're the one who called me a highlight." "I stand by that assessment." He smiled, and it was surprisingly warm. His gaze swept over her outfit, black on black on black, and his smile widened. "You're going to give him a heart attack, you know. He hasn't seen this much black in one place since a funeral." "Good." Elliot laughed. "Follow me?" The elevator ride was silent until they passed the 15th floor. "He's not what you expect," Elliot said suddenly. "What?" "Tristan. Everyone thinks they know him from the magazines, the interviews, the public persona, but he's..." Elliot seemed to be choosing his words carefully. "More complicated than that. He seemed pretty simple to me. Rich guy who thinks he's better than everyone else. That's the surface. That's what he wants people to see." Elliot glanced at her. "Very few people get past the surface. I'm not trying to get past anything. I'm here because he apparently can't take no for an answer." The elevator opened onto the 25th floor. If the lobby had been impressive, this was something else entirely. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Miami Beach. Minimalist furniture in whites and creams and pale gold. Artwork on the walls that she suspected belonged in museums. Plants in perfect arrangements. Everything light, bright, colorful. And there, standing by those massive windows with his back to her, was Tristan Streefield. He'd changed outfits since yesterday, of course. Today he was wearing an emerald green turtleneck that made his light brown skin glow like it was lit from within, paired with white tailored pants and loafers that probably had names more dignified than loafers. His black curly hair was perfectly styled, but falling over one eye in that way that she was beginning to realize was absolutely intentional. He turned when he heard them enter, and those dark eyes found hers immediately. For a moment, nobody spoke. Then Tristan Strefield looked at her outfit. The black jeans, the black turtleneck, the black leather jacket, the black combat boots. And he made a sound like he'd been physically wounded. "No," he said. "No, no, no. Nice to see you too. I spent all morning preparing for this meeting. I had points to make, compelling arguments, a whole presentation." He gestured at her outfit with genuine distress. "And now you walk in here looking like you're about to attend the funeral of joy itself. And I can't think of anything except how you've somehow managed to find even more black clothing than yesterday. It's called a signature aesthetic. It's called a war crime against color. Are you allergic to the visible light spectrum? Is that it? Is this a medical condition?" Elliot made a sound that might have been a suppressed laugh. Tristan shot him a look. "Leave us." "Are you sure? She did take out 3 of your security guards." "I said leave us." Elliot raised his hands in surrender and backed toward the elevator. "Call if you need backup, though based on yesterday, you'll need more than 3 guys." The elevator doors closed, and Ursula was alone with the man whose car she'd destroyed. Tristan crossed to his desk, which was covered in fabric samples and design sketches. All of them in bold, odd vibrant colors that seemed to mock Ursula's monochromatic existence, and leaned against it casually, like he wasn't a billionaire, like she wasn't the woman who'd cracked eggs on his car and knocked out his guards. "You took exactly what you were owed," he said. "Yes. Not $1 more." I said, "Yes." "Why?" The question caught her off guard. "What do you mean, why? Because it wasn't mine. I don't take what isn't mine." "Everyone takes what isn't theirs. It's human nature." "Then maybe I'm not human." "Clearly not. Humans have an appreciation for color. You appear to be some kind of shadow creature." He was studying her with an intensity that made her want to step back. "You also fought off 3 trained security guards while simultaneously destroying my vehicle. Yet where did you learn to fight like that?" "My father." "The bank robber." Ursula's jaw tightened. "The martial arts instructor, before he made one stupid decision that ruined both our lives." Something flickered in Tristan's expression, something that almost looked like understanding. "My mother was a supermodel," he said. "Back in the 90s, she was on every magazine, every runway, every designer's list. She made millions." Ursula didn't see what this had to do with anything. "Congratulations to her," she said dryly. "She spent it all, every penny. By the time the industry moved on to younger faces, she had nothing. Now she manages my career because she can't manage her own finances, and I'm building a fashion empire because I refuse to make her mistakes." He pushed off from the desk and walked toward Ursula. Not threatening, just closer. "Everyone around me wants something from me. My money, my fame, my face, my connections. My mother wants her lifestyle funded. My girlfriend wants the status of being with me. My fans want a fantasy version of me that doesn't exist. Everyone wants something." He stopped 3 feet away. "Except you. You had almost $2,000 in your hands, and you threw 1,800 of it back at my face, because it wasn't yours. Is there a point to this?" "The point," he said, "is that you're the most interesting person I've met in years, and I want you to work for me." Ursula blinked. "Work for you? As my personal security?" "You have security. I have security that you knocked unconscious in under a minute. While throwing eggs?" He smiled, and it was infuriatingly charming. He did that hair flip thing, on curls bouncing away from his eye, then settling back perfectly. "Imagine what you could do without the eggs. I'm not a bodyguard, I'm a delivery driver. I'm graduating in 47 days and moving to China. I'll pay you more in 1 month than you'd make in 2 years of delivery driving. Full benefits, flexible schedule that works around your classes, housing in one of my buildings if your current place is inadequate. My place is fine. I've seen the reports. Your place is a shoebox in a neighborhood with a rising crime rate." He took another step closer. "I'm offering you financial security, real security, the kind that doesn't depend on tips and algorithms and praying your motorcycle doesn't break down." Ursula's heart was pounding. Not from fear, from confusion. She'd expected cruelty. She'd expected power plays. She hadn't expected this. Why? She asked. Why do you care whether some delivery driver has financial security? Because you fascinate me. That's not a good reason. It's the only honest one I have. They stared at each other. He was close enough that she could see the individual threads in his emerald turtleneck. Close enough that she could smell his cologne. Something expensive, probably. Something that had no business smelling that good. Close enough that she could see the faint circles under his eyes that makeup couldn't quite hide. The hint of tension in his jaw. The slight furrow between his brows. Up close, he looked less like a god and more like a man. A man carrying something heavy. 1 month, he said. Give me 1 month. If you hate it, you can leave. I'll still pay you for the full time. And you can go to China with more money than you'd ever save otherwise. And if I say no, then you say no. I'm not going to force you. He stepped back and she could breathe again. But I'm not going to stop asking either. That's harassment. That's persistence. There's a difference. Not really. He laughed. That same surprised, delighted laugh from yesterday. The one that transformed his entire face into something almost human. 1 month, Ursula Rain. What do you have to lose? Everything, she thought. My plan, my escape, my sanity. But she thought of her tiny apartment, her dying motorcycle, the countdown calendar marking days until freedom that she might not be able to afford anymore. She thought of the bills piling up, the jobs she'd lost, the future that was slipping away. And she thought of the way he'd said fascinating, like she was a puzzle he wanted to solve, like she was something rare. Nobody had ever called her rare. 1 month, she heard herself say, and I'm not changing my wardrobe. His eye twitched. Actually twitched, like she'd caused him physical pain. We'll see about that. No, we won't. This is non-negotiable. You get me in black, or you don't get me at all. Tristan Strefield stared at her for a long moment. Then slowly, a smile spread across his face. You drive a hard bargain, Miss Rain. I drive a fair one. Take it or leave it. I'll take it. He extended his hand. Welcome to Kingsley Lux. Try not to assault any more of my staff. She shook his hand. His grip was warm and firm and lingered just a second too long. No promises, she said. And despite everything, despite the insanity of what she was agreeing to, she felt something spark, something dangerous, something that felt a lot like the beginning of trouble. Now, if you think Ursula just made a deal with the devil in a designer turtleneck, you're not alone. This man got her fired from her other jobs, tracked her down, and made her an offer she couldn't refuse. That's either the beginning of a love story or a true crime documentary, and right now it could go either way. But here's what Ursula doesn't know yet. Somewhere in this ridiculous skyscraper, Tristan Strefield has a secret. A secret that's about to walk into their lives and change everything. Comment 1 month if you think Ursula is going to last that long without either falling for this infuriating man or throwing more eggs at him. And comment he's obsessed if you can already see that Tristan Strefield has no idea what just hit him. The penthouse was ridiculous. Ursula stood in the elevator as it climbed toward the 60th floor of the most exclusive residential building in Miami, watching the numbers tick higher and higher, and tried to wrap her head around what she'd agreed to. 1 month. Living in a billionaire's home, working as his personal security, getting paid more money than she'd ever seen in her life. It was insane. The whole situation was completely insane. The elevator doors opened, and insane became an understatement. The penthouse sprawled before her like something out of a fever dream. The floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Biscayne Bay, the Miami skyline glittering in the morning sun. White marble floors so polished she could see her reflection. Furniture that probably cost more than her entire apartment building. Fresh flowers everywhere. Massive arrangements in bold colors, professionally styled. And the closet. Dear God, the closet. Through an open doorway, she could see a room, an entire room, filled with nothing but clothes. Racks upon racks of designer pieces in every color imaginable. Emeralds, rubies, golds, sapphires. Even the blacks were statement pieces. It was like walking into the opposite of her entire existence. "Miss Rain." The voice came from her left, and Ursula turned to find a man approaching. He was tall and broad-shouldered, with dark skin, a military-precise haircut, and the kind of build that said former Special Forces without needing a business card. "Dexter Caney," he said, extending his hand. "Head of security for Mr. Streefield. I'll be briefing you on protocols and schedules." Ursula shook his hand. His grip was firm, assessing. "You're the one who took out Jensen, Cooper, and Briggs," he said. It wasn't a question. "They got in my way. In under a minute, while throwing eggs." Something that might have been respect flickered in his eyes. "I've watched that footage about 30 times now. Sounds like a productive use of your time." It was educational. He released her hand. "I'll be honest, Miss Rain. When Mr. Streefield told me he was hiring you as his personal close protection, I had concerns. And now? Now I want to know your training background. That wasn't bar fighting. That was disciplined technique. Mixed martial arts base, judo throws, some Wing Chun for the close work?" Ursula raised an eyebrow. "You got all that from 30 viewings?" "I'm thorough." He gestured for her to follow him. "Let me show you the residence and walk you through Mr. Streefield's schedule. He has specific requirements for close protection." As they walked through the penthouse, Dexter explained the setup. "Mr. Streefield's bedroom suite is on the east wing. Your quarters are on the west. Separate entrance, full bathroom, sitting room. You'll have complete privacy." He paused. "But when he needs you, he'll need you close. At events, you stay within arm's reach. In meetings, you're in the room. If someone gets past the perimeter team, you're the last line." "And the perimeter team?" "That's my domain. I handle the outer rings, venue security, crowd control, threat assessment. You handle proximity." He stopped walking and turned to face her fully. "Mr. Streefield specifically requested this arrangement. He wants you close. I don't know why, and frankly, it's not my business. My business is keeping him safe, and if you're going to be part of that, I need to know you can do the job." "I can do the job. We'll see." Something almost like a smile crossed his face. "I'd like to spar with you sometime. Test what you can really do when you're not distracted by breakfast foods." "Maybe." "I'll take that as a eventually, yes." He resumed walking. "Now, let me introduce you to the rest of the household." And that was how Ursula Rain found herself standing in the living room of a $60 million penthouse, on face-to-face with Barbara Streefield. Tristan's mother was exactly what Ursula had expected from a former supermodel. Tall, elegant, impeccably dressed in a cream-colored suit. Her face had that preserved quality of someone who'd invested heavily in fighting time, and her eyes were sharp, assessing, immediately dismissive. "So," Barbara said, looking Ursula up and down with an expression of barely concealed distaste, "you're the security girl. Ursula Rain. I know who you are. I know what you did to my son's car. I know about your father." Barbara's smile was thin and cold. "I know everything about you, Miss Rain, including the fact that you have no business being in this penthouse." "Mother?" Tristan's voice cut through the tension. He'd appeared from somewhere, dressed today in a deep plum silk shirt and tailored black pants. "Now, Ursula is my employee. Treat her with respect." "I'm simply being honest." Barbara didn't take her eyes off Ursula. "She threw eggs at your car. She assaulted your security team. And now she's living in your home? This is highly irregular." "Irregular is my specialty." "This isn't a joke, Tristan. Your image..." "My image is my concern, not yours." There was something hard in Tristan's voice, something that surprised Ursula. "Ursula stays. End of discussion." Barbara's smile tightened. "We'll see." She swept out of the room, leaving a cloud of expensive perfume and implied threats in her wake. Tristan turned to Ursula. "I apologize for my mother. She's protective. That's one word for it. She'll warm up to you." "Will she?" Tristan was quiet for a moment. Then, "No, probably not. But she'll learn to tolerate you." Which is the most anyone can hope for with Barbara Streefield. There was something in his voice, a weariness, a resignation, that made Ursula look at him more closely. The confident billionaire from yesterday seemed slightly diminished in his mother's wake, like she'd taken some of his energy with her when she left. But before Ursula could examine that thought further, something else caught her attention. Movement from the corner of her eye, small, low to the ground. She turned and saw a figure emerging from a doorway at the far end of the room. A child, she thought at first. A child in a gray hoodie, moving quietly like he was trying not to be noticed. "Hey," she called out, her voice softening automatically. She'd always had a weakness for kids. "Are you lost, little guy?" The figure stopped, turned, and Ursula realized her mistake immediately. He wasn't a child. He was a young man, early 20s maybe, with dark brown skin, close-cropped hair, and thick-framed glasses that magnified sharp, intelligent eyes. He was about 4 feet tall, with the proportions of an adult, and he was looking at Ursula like she'd just insulted his entire ancestry. "Little guy?" His voice was flat, dangerous. "Did you just call me little guy?" "Oh no. I'm sorry, I didn't mean... I thought you were... a child?" He crossed his arms. "Do I look like a child to you?" "No, I mean, yes, from behind, I thought..." Ursula's brain was short-circuiting. She'd never been this flustered in her life. "I'm sorry. I just saw someone small and assumed..." "Someone small." His eyes narrowed. "Wow, you're really just digging this hole deeper. Aren't you? First you mistake me for a lost kid, and now you're calling me small. What's next? You going to pat me on the head? Ask if I need help reaching something? That's not... I would never..." Ursula's eyes darted to Tristan, desperate for help, but he was watching the exchange with an expression of barely suppressed amusement. No help there. And then her brain, that traitorous organ, made another connection. Small stature. Living in Tristan's penthouse. Barbara mentioning nothing about another family member. Oh my God. The words fell out before she could stop them. I knew it. I knew he had a dirty secret. The young man's eyebrows shot up. "Excuse me? You're his son, aren't you?" Ursula pointed at Tristan. "That's why no one talks about you. That's why you were sneaking around. You're his secret child." Silence. On complete, absolute silence. And then Tristan burst out laughing. Not a polite chuckle. A full-body, bent-over, tears in his eyes laugh that echoed off the marble floors and high ceilings. The young man's expression had shifted from offended to absolutely murderous. "His son?" His voice cracked with outrage. "I'm his brother, you absolute..." He cut himself off, visibly struggling to maintain composure. "I'm 22 years old. Tristan is 27. Does that math work for you, or do you need a calculator? And for your information, I wasn't sneaking around. I live here. This is my home. I was trying to get to the kitchen without being noticed because I don't like being stared at, which..." He gestured at her. "You are doing right now." Ursula's face was on fire. She'd never been this embarrassed in her entire life. I'm so sorry," she managed. "I didn't mean to assume. I just saw you and I thought, you're so..." She caught herself before saying cute and made it worse. "Compact." Compact. That's not what I... First I'm a child, then I'm his secret love child, now I'm compact? He threw his hands up. "What is wrong with you? Were you raised in a barn? Have you never seen a person with dwarfism before?" "Of course I have. You just what? Thought you'd come into my home and start making assumptions about my life? My family? My height?" "I'm trying to apologize." "Well, you're doing a terrible job." He turned to Tristan, who was still laughing so hard he'd had to brace himself against a wall. "And you, stop laughing. This isn't funny." "Come on, Noel, it's a little funny," Tristan wheezed. "It is not." The young man, Noel, and Ursula filed that detail away, pointed at Ursula. "Keep her away from me. I don't care if she's your security or your girlfriend or your new favorite charity case. I want nothing to do with her." He stormed off toward the hallway he'd emerged from, his footsteps somehow managing to sound furious despite his shorter stride. A door slammed somewhere in the distance. Tristan finally got his laughter under control, wiping tears from his eyes. "Well," he said, "that could have gone better." Ursula wanted to sink into the marble floor and disappear forever. "I called him compact," she said weakly. "Why did I call him compact? I don't know, but I'm going to remember that forever." Tristan was still grinning. "For the record, that was my younger brother, Noel. He's 22. He's brilliant. And he's now going to hate you for the rest of your employment here. Can I apologize? Let me apologize. I need to fix this. Give him time. Noel doesn't warm up to people quickly under the best circumstances." Tristan's expression softened slightly. "And these aren't the best circumstances. He's had a lifetime of people making assumptions about him. You just hit every single button he has." Ursula closed her eyes. "I really thought he was your secret son." "Yes, I gathered that from the shouting." He was laughing again, damn him. "My dirty secret. As if I'd be capable of keeping anything secret from the tabloids. I'm sorry. I'll make it right. Somehow. For your sake, I hope you do. Noel holds grudges like other people hold onto lottery tickets, desperately and forever." Tristan glanced at his watch. "Now, I have a photo shoot in 2 hours, which means I need to finish getting ready. Dexter will show you to your quarters. Settle in. We leave at noon." He turned to go, then paused. "Oh, and Ursula?" "Yes?" That hair flip, the curls bouncing away from his eye and then settling back perfectly. He did it deliberately, she was starting to realize. A practiced move designed to charm. "Welcome to the family. Try not to insult anyone else on your first day." He walked away, still chuckling. Ursula stood alone in the middle of the massive living room, surrounded by more luxury than she'd ever seen in her life, and wondered what the hell she'd gotten herself into. If you're cringing so hard right now that you can barely watch, type Ursula no in the comments. But if you're already rooting for her to somehow win Noel over, I'd type redemption arc. Because trust me, Ursula has to dig herself out of this hole she's made, and make sure you're subscribed because this family drama is just getting started. The photo shoot was chaos in designer clothing. Tristan Lux had rented out an entire section of Vizcaya Museum and Gardens for the day, transforming the historic estate into a fashion playground. Models in flowing gowns posed among the fountains. Assistants ran back and forth with garment bags. Photographers shouted directions in at least 3 different languages. And in the center of it all was Tristan Strefield, holding court like a king. Ursula watched from her position near the main tent, close enough to intervene if needed, but far enough to stay out of the shots. Dexter had briefed her on the protocol. Stay visible but unobtrusive. I watch for threats. Be ready to move. So far, the only threat was her own boredom. First day? Ursula turned to find Elliot Huang approaching with 2 cups of coffee. He handed her one without asking. "That obvious?" "You have that, 'what have I done with my life' look. Very common among new Tristan employees." He took a sip of his own coffee. "How was the move-in?" "I called his brother compact." Elliot choked on his drink. "You what?" "I thought he was a child. Then I thought he was Tristan's secret son. Then I panicked and called him compact." "Oh my God." Elliot was laughing now, but sympathetically. "Noel must have lost his mind. He told me to stay away from him forever." "That sounds about right." Elliot shook his head. "Noel's a tough one. He's been burned by a lot of people who couldn't see past his appearance. But once he trusts you, he's actually— Baby!" The shriek cut through the photo shoot chaos like a blade. Ursula's head snapped toward the sound, her body already shifting into defensive stance. She saw a figure sprinting toward the main tent, tall, glamorous, moving fast on impossible heels, heading straight for Dexter, who was standing near the entrance. Threat, her brain registered. Moving fast. Intercept. She was moving before she consciously decided to, crossing the distance in seconds, intercepting the figure before it could reach Dexter. One smooth motion, grab the arm, redirect the momentum, sweep the legs, and the intruder was on the ground, pinned beneath Ursula's knee. "Ow! What the— Get off me!" The voice was familiar. Too familiar. Ursula looked down at the face beneath her and felt her stomach drop. Solange Beaumont, an A-list actress, Tristan's girlfriend, currently pinned to the grass with dirt on her designer dress and murder in her eyes. Oh no, not again. Tristan, Solange screamed. Tristan, your psycho-security just attacked me. The photo shoot ground to a halt. Every head turned. Cameras that should have been pointed at models were suddenly pointed at Ursula. She released Solange immediately, stepping back, hands raised. I'm sorry, I didn't recognize you. You were running toward... I was running toward my boyfriend! Solange scrambled to her feet, brushing off her dress with furious movements. Do you know who I am? Do you have any idea who I am? Solange Beaumont, actress. I know who you are now, but you were moving fast and I thought... You thought? Solange's beautiful face was twisted with rage. You don't get to think. You get to stand in a corner and look intimidating. That's your job, not tackling your employer's girlfriend like some kind of rabid animal. That's enough, Solange. Tristan had arrived, still wearing the white and gold ensemble from his current shot. His expression was carefully neutral, but his eyes were sharp. Baby. Solange's demeanor shifted instantly, fury transforming into wounded distress. Did you see what she did? She attacked me. I was just coming to see you and she knocked me to the ground like a criminal. Ursula was doing her job. Her job is to protect you, not assault your girlfriend. She didn't know you were my girlfriend. You came out of nowhere moving fast. Any security professional would have responded the same way. Something flickered in Solange's eyes. Something that looked like calculation quickly masked by more performed distress. So you're taking her side? Over me? Your girlfriend of 2 years? I'm stating facts, Solange. There are no sides. The tension between them was palpable. Ursula watched, fascinated despite herself, as some unspoken battle played out in their locked gazes. Finally, Solange looked away first. Fine. She smoothed her dress, composing herself with practiced ease. Fine, but I expect an apology from your employee. I apologize, Ursula said immediately. I genuinely didn't recognize you, and I was trained to respond to potential threats. It won't happen again. Solange's eyes swept over Ursula's all-black outfit with undisguised disdain. See that it doesn't. She turned to Tristan, her voice cooling. I came to surprise you, take you to lunch. But clearly, you're busy with your new project. Solange, call me later, if you have time. She walked away, somehow managing to make even a retreat look like a runway strut. Tristan watched her go, then turned to Ursula. That was my girlfriend. I gathered. She's not usually like that. Ursula raised an eyebrow but said nothing. Okay, she's sometimes like that. He ran a hand through his carefully styled hair, messing it up. Someone from the styling team made a distressed sound and rushed over to fix it. I should go after her, smooth things over. You're in the middle of a shoot. The shoot can wait. Can it? Ursula gestured at the waiting photographers, the models standing idle, the assistants frozen mid-task. All these people are on your schedule, your payroll. And you're going to stop everything to chase after someone who screamed at you in front of your entire team? Tristan looked at her for a long moment. You don't pull punches, do you? I'm your security, not your yes man. You want someone to tell you what you want to hear? I'm sure you have plenty of those. Something shifted in his expression. That crack in the mask again, showing something realer underneath. No, he said quietly. I don't, actually. That's the problem. Before Ursula could respond, he turned back to the photo shoot. Let's finish this, he called out. We're already behind schedule. The chaos resumed around them, and Ursula returned to her position near the tent. But she kept thinking about that look on his face, that weariness, that loneliness. The most photographed man in Miami, surrounded by people, and somehow completely alone. The following week passed in a blur of events, photo shoots, and meetings that Ursula shadowed with increasing familiarity. She learned the rhythms of Tristan's life, the early morning workouts that he never missed, the endless parade of designers and models and business associates, the way his mother appeared at random intervals to criticize his choices and remind him of his obligations, the way Solange showed up unannounced, demanding attention, then leaving when she didn't get enough of it. She learned that Tristan ate lunch at his desk more often than not, that he worked 18-hour days, and she learned that Noel Strefield was avoiding her with the dedication of someone training for the Olympics. Every time she entered a room, he left it. If she came down the hallway, he went the other direction. When they ended up at the same breakfast table, unavoidable given that they lived in the same penthouse, he ate in complete silence, refused to acknowledge her existence, and departed the moment his plate was clear. It was, frankly, impressive. "He's really committed to this grudge," Ursula observed to Elliot one afternoon. "Told you. Lottery ticket levels of dedication." Elliot was reviewing something on his tablet. "Give him time, or find a way to connect with him. He's got interests. Figure out what they are." "How am I supposed to figure out his interests if he won't be in the same room as me?" "Get creative." That night, Ursula did something she probably shouldn't have. She went looking for Noel's room. The west wing of the penthouse, her wing, was clearly marked and accessible. The east wing, now where Tristan's master suite was located, was equally obvious. But there was a third section, down a hallway that seemed designed to be overlooked, and that was where she found it. Noel's door was closed, but there was light coming from underneath. And something else. The sound of a pen or pencil scratching against paper. Rhythmic. Focused. She knocked. The scratching stopped. "Go away, Tristan. I don't want to talk." "It's not Tristan." Silence. "Go away anyway." "Can I at least apologize properly, without you running out of the room before I finish a sentence?" More silence. Then grudgingly, "You have 30 seconds. I'm sorry I assumed you were a child. I'm sorry I called you compact. I'm sorry I suggested you were Tristan's secret son, which, honestly, was a stupid assumption because you two look nothing alike and the age math doesn't work at all. 20 seconds. I was nervous and I panicked, and my brain does stupid things when I panic. It's not an excuse, just an explanation. I didn't mean to make you feel like I was reducing you to your appearance. That was wrong, and I'm genuinely sorry." Silence stretched. "And?" Noel's voice was slightly less hostile. "And I noticed you were carrying a sketchbook when we first met. I'm guessing you're an artist? So? So I'm a massive anime and manga nerd, and if that sketchbook has anything to do with that, I'd genuinely love to see your work. Not because I'm trying to make up for being an idiot, although I am, but because I care about those things. They're pretty much all I've cared about for the last 3 years, besides studying Mandarin and trying to survive." The silence this time was different, longer, considering. Finally, the door cracked open. Noel's face appeared in the gap, suspicious but curious. "You read manga?" "I've read more manga than I've had hot meals. One Piece alone has consumed probably a full year of my life. Don't even get me started on my opinions about the anime pacing versus the manga pacing." Noel's eyes narrowed. "The anime pacing is garbage, especially in Dressrosa." "Thank you. Why does no one talk about how they stretch that arc to twice its necessary length? Toei has no respect for—" The door opened wider. "Get in here," Noel said, "before someone sees you lurking in the hallway like a weirdo." It wasn't forgiveness. Not yet. But it was a start. Noel's room was a revelation. Every available wall surface was covered in artwork. Intricate manga panels hand-drawn with stunning precision. Character designs that showed professional-level skill. Landscapes and action scenes and emotional close-ups that made Ursula's jaw drop. "You drew all of this?" "No, I hired tiny elves to do it while I slept." Noel closed the door behind her, still guarded but clearly pleased by her reaction. "Yes, I drew all of this." "Noel, this is—" Ursula moved closer to one wall, examining the details. The line work was clean but expressive, blending American comic influences with Japanese manga style in a way that felt completely original. "This is incredible, like actually incredible. Not good for a hobby incredible. Actually professional level incredible. You don't have to oversell it." "I'm not overselling, I'm accurately selling." She turned to face him. "Why isn't this published? Why doesn't anyone know about this?" Something closed off in Noel's expression. "Because no one cares. I care. I'm standing here caring right now. You barely know me. I know good art when I see it, And I know that whoever told you no one would care was wrong. Ursula gestured at the walls. This is the kind of work that could change people's lives. Has Tristan seen any of this? Noel looked away. Tristan's busy. Busy doing what? Wearing fancy clothes and being photographed? He could spare 5 minutes to see his brother's work. You don't understand. Noel's voice was sharp. Tristan has enough on his plate. Our mother, his girlfriend, the business. He doesn't need me adding to his problems. How is showing him your art adding to his problems? Because then he'd feel obligated to do something about it. Help me, support me, and I don't want to be another burden. The word hung in the air. Burden. Ursula thought about her own father, the way his choices had become her burden, the way she'd spent 3 years trying to escape the weight of someone else's mistakes. You're not a burden, she said quietly. You're his brother, and I'm guessing he'd want to know if you were struggling with something. Who said I'm struggling? You're hiding incredible talent in your bedroom because you think no one will care. That sounds like struggling to me. Noel was quiet for a long moment. My mother thinks art is a waste of time, he finally said. She's said so, multiple times. Much to my face. She thinks I should be doing something productive. Not that she's ever specified what that would be for someone like me. Someone like you? A dwarf. The word came out flat, matter of fact. Not exactly model material. Not exactly what she wanted in a second son. Ursula felt a flash of anger on his behalf. Your mother sounds like a piece of work. She's Barbara. Noel shrugged. She's been disappointed in me since I was born. I'm used to it. You shouldn't have to be used to it. Yeah, well, he picked up a sketchbook from his desk and held it out to her. You wanted to see my work? Here, this is what I'm working on now. Ursula took the sketchbook carefully, reverently. The pages inside told a story. A young hero, overlooked and underestimated, discovering that the very thing that made him different was the source of his power. The art was stunning. Detailed action sequences, emotional character moments, a visual style that jumped off the page. Noel, she breathed. This could be published. This should be published. No one would want it. You don't know that. You haven't tried. I don't need to try. I know how the world works. People like me don't get to be successful artists. We get to be inspirational stories or cautionary tales. Nothing in between. Ursula closed the sketchbook and looked him dead in the eyes. Show Tristan. I told you, show him. Tomorrow. I'll be there if you need moral support. But this work is too good to hide. Eyes and your brother deserves to know what you're capable of. She pressed the sketchbook back into his hands. Trust me. Noel looked at her for a long moment. Why do you care so much? You've known me for a week, and half that time I've spent avoiding you. Because I know what it's like to have people make assumptions about you, to feel like you'll never be more than your circumstances. Ursula shrugged. And because your art is genuinely amazing, and it would be a crime against humanity if no one ever saw it. Something shifted in Noel's expression. That guarded wall cracking, just a little. You really think it's that good? I really do. He was quiet for another moment. Then, fine. Tomorrow. But you will be there. And if he doesn't care, I get to say, I told you so forever. Deal. If you're already emotionally invested in Noel getting the recognition he deserves, type, show Tristan in the comments. And if you're loving this unexpected friendship between the gothic delivery girl and the overlooked little brother, type, best duo. Because these two are going to need each other for what's coming next. Subscribe and turn on notifications because this moment is about to change everything. The following afternoon, Ursula stood in Tristan's home office as Noel placed his sketchbook on the desk. Tristan looked up from his laptop, clearly distracted, clearly in the middle of something. Noel, what's this? Just look. Noel's voice was tight with nervousness. Please, just look. Tristan glanced at Ursula, who gave him a small nod, then down at the sketchbook. He opened it. And he stopped. For a long moment, he didn't move, didn't speak. just turned pages, slowly, one after another, his expression unreadable. The silence stretched. Noel shifted his weight, anxiety radiating off him. Ursula wanted to say something, but she forced herself to stay quiet. This was their moment, not hers. Finally, Tristan looked up. His eyes were wet. Noel. His voice cracked. How long have you been doing this? Years, since I was a teenager. Why didn't you show me? Noel's jaw tightened. You're busy. Mom says art is a waste of time. I didn't want to bother me? Tristan stood up so fast his chair rolled back and hit the wall. Noel, this is incredible. This is professional level work. Why would you ever think this would bother me? Because everyone else? I'm not everyone else. I'm your brother. Tristan crossed to Noel and crouched down so they were at eye level. I don't care what Mom says. I don't care what anyone says. This is real talent. This is important, and I should have known about it years ago. You couldn't have known. I should have asked. I should have paid more attention. I've been so wrapped up in my own garbage that I let you slip into the background, and that's not okay. Tristan's voice was fierce. You are not a background character in this family, Noel. You're not a burden. You're my brother, and you're brilliant, and I'm sorry I didn't see it sooner. Noel's composure cracked. He didn't cry, not quite, but his eyes were shining and his breath came in short bursts. You really think it's good? Good? This needs to be published. We're finding you an agent, a publisher, whatever you need. Tristan gripped his brother's shoulders. This is happening, Noel. I'm going to make sure of it. Tristan, I mean it. No arguments. He stood up and turned to Ursula, and his expression shifted, still emotional, but now with an added layer of something else. Gratitude, warmth. You did this. Noel did it. I just convinced him to show you. Same thing. He held her gaze. Thank you, Ursula, for seeing him when I wasn't looking. Something passed between them. Electric, charged. Ursula looked away first. I should go. Let you two talk. She left the office, heart pounding for reasons she didn't want to examine too closely. Behind her, she heard Tristan and Noel's voices. Quieter now, intimate. In the sounds of brothers reconnecting after years of missed opportunities. She'd done something good today. But as she walked back to her quarters, she couldn't shake the feeling that she was getting in too deep. 1 month, she reminded herself. 1 month, and then China. That was the plan. But for the first time, that plan was starting to feel less like an escape and more like a loss. 2 weeks into the job, Ursula got a text from a number she hadn't heard from in years. Dad. Visiting day is Saturday. Will you come? She stared at the message for a long time. Leo Rain, her father, the man who'd taught her everything about fighting and nothing about running away from your mistakes. She hadn't seen him since the trial. 3 years. 3 years of letting his collect calls go to voicemail, of deleting his letters unopened, out of pretending he didn't exist because pretending was easier than facing what he'd done. But she was leaving soon, leaving the country. And if she didn't see him now, she might never get the chance. She typed back one word. Yes. The prison was exactly as depressing as she'd expected. Gray walls, gray floors, gray-faced guards who looked like they'd stopped caring years ago. The smell of industrial cleaner barely masking something worse underneath. Ursula sat in the visitation room and waited. When Leo Rain finally appeared, escorted by a guard, she barely recognized him. He'd aged. His hair, once dark and proud, was shot through with gray. His face was lined with years of regret. His shoulders, once broad and confident, were slumped with defeat. But his eyes, those were the same, dark and sharp and seeing right through her, just like they always had. Baby girl. His voice cracked. You came. I came. He sat down across from her, separated by the table, and for a long moment, neither of them spoke. You look good, he finally said. Healthy, strong. I've been surviving. More than surviving, from what I hear. You got a real job now, working for some rich guy. You hear things in here? I hear things. He attempted a smile. It didn't quite land. I'm proud of you, Ursula, for doing so well, despite everything. Despite you, you mean. The words came out sharper than she intended, but she didn't take them back. Leo nodded, accepting it. Yeah, despite me. Silence stretched between them again. I'm leaving, Ursula said. After I graduate, moving to China, starting over somewhere no one knows my name. Or yours. Leo's expression flickered. Pain. Understanding. That's probably smart. I'm not asking for your approval. I know. He leaned forward, hands folded on the table. I know I don't get to have opinions about your life anymore. I gave up that right when I did what I did. Why? The question burst out of her, 3 years of silence finally breaking. Why did you do it? We had a good life. The dojos were successful. We had money. We had each other. Why did you throw it all away? Leo was quiet for a long moment, then, simply, greed. Ursula waited for more. An explanation, an excuse, something. That's it? Greed? That's it. He met her eyes. I wanted more. I always wanted more. More money, more success, more proof that I'd made it. And some men I knew, bad men I should have stayed away from. They offered me a way to get more. Fast, easy. All I had to do was help them with one job. Help them rob a bank. Yeah. He looked down at his hands. I told myself I'd do it once. Just once. Pay off some debts, expand the business, set us up for life. I told myself it wasn't really hurting anyone. The bank had insurance, the money was just numbers in a computer. A bitter laugh. I told myself a lot of things. And when you got caught? When I got caught, I realized I'd lost everything that actually mattered for money that never even reached my pocket. He looked up at her again. I lost you. I lost your mother. I lost my reputation, my business, my freedom, all because I wasn't satisfied with what I had. Ursula felt tears pricking at her eyes. She blinked them back. Mom left. I know. She didn't even say goodbye, just packed one bag and disappeared. I know. His voice was heavy. And I'm sorry for all of it, for putting you in that position, for making you the daughter of a criminal, for ruining your life before you had a chance to live it. You didn't ruin my life, you just made it harder. Same thing. No. Ursula leaned forward. It's not the same thing. My life isn't ruined. I'm graduating college. I'm working a good job. I have a plan for my future. I did that, me, despite everything you put me through. Leo's eyes filled with tears. You're stronger than I ever was, baby girl. You always were. Ursula didn't know what to say to that. They sat in silence as the minutes ticked by, the clock on the wall counting down their time together. Finally, the guard announced that visiting hours were ending. Ursula stood. Ursula? Her father's voice stopped her. I know I don't deserve forgiveness. I'm not asking for it. But I want you to know, I'm proud of who you've become. And I hope, wherever you end up, you find peace. She looked at him. This broken man who'd been her hero, her teacher, her father. Goodbye, Dad. She walked out of the prison without looking back. But in the car, driving away from the gray walls and the gray faces and the weight of 3 years of silence, she finally let herself cry. That night, back at the penthouse, Ursula found Tristan in the kitchen. It was late, well past midnight, and the rest of the household was asleep. But Tristan was sitting at the massive marble island, nursing a glass of something amber, like still wearing the clothes from whatever event he'd attended that evening. Couldn't sleep? He asked without looking up. Something like that. She sat down across from him. You? Something like that. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment. I went to see my father today, Ursula said. Tristan looked up. The prison? Yeah. How was it? Hard. Good. I don't know. She ran a hand over her locks. I asked him why he did it, robbed that bank, threw away everything we had. What did he say? Greed. She laughed, but it wasn't funny. Just greed. He wanted more, and he didn't care what it cost to get it. Tristan was quiet for a moment. My mother is the same way, he said finally. Not a criminal, not like that, but the same hunger. Like the same inability to be satisfied with what she has. Is that why you work so hard? To not be like her? Partly. He took a sip of his drink. Mostly I work hard because I watched her lose everything when she stopped being useful to the industry. She spent every penny as fast as it came in, convinced the money would never stop. And when it did, she had nothing. She had nothing. And now she has me. His jaw tightened. I refuse to end up like her. I'm building something that will last, something that doesn't depend on my face staying young or my body staying perfect. Tristan looks. Tristan Lux. He met her eyes. My legacy. Proof that I'm more than just a pretty face with an expiration date. Ursula studied him. The weariness beneath the perfect exterior. The loneliness behind the charm. Like you're more than that already, she said quietly. With or without the empire. Something flickered in his expression. Surprise. Vulnerability. You think so? I know so. I've seen how you are with Noel. How you supported him when you saw his work. That's not a man who's just a pretty face. That's a man who actually cares about people. Tristan stared at her for a long moment. Then he smiled. Not the camera smile. Not the charming smile. A real one. You know, he said, you're the first person in a very long time who's told me something I actually needed to hear. That's what security details are for. Is that what you are? My security detail? The question hung between them, loaded with implications neither of them was ready to address. That's what you're paying me for, Ursula said carefully. Not right. He took another sip. That's what I'm paying you for. But his eyes said something different. 3 weeks into the job, the first rumor hit the tabloids. Tristan Streefield's new mystery woman. Who is she? The article was accompanied by photos. Paparazzi shots of Ursula standing near Tristan at various events. Close, like security should be, but not far enough for the tabloids to resist speculation. His security detail? Or something more? Sources say Streefield can't keep his eyes off his new employee. Ursula read the article on her phone with growing dread. And then she made the mistake of looking at the comments. Who is this nobody? Solange is way more beautiful. Tristange forever. Get this basic girl away from our king. She's not even wearing anything interesting. All black? Boring. I looked her up. Her dad is a bank robber. No wonder she's trying to trap a billionaire. Solange deserves better than this. Tristan would never cheat on her. Go back where you came from, gold digger. The trolls descended like locusts. Within hours, her social media, which she barely used, was flooded with hate. Her phone started buzzing with numbers she didn't recognize. Someone dug up old articles about her father and started sharing them everywhere. And then the threats started. Stay away from Tristan or you'll regret it. We know where you live. Solange's fans don't play around. Watch your back. Ursula stared at her phone, hands shaking. She'd been here before. The public eye, the scrutiny, the judgment. But this was different. This was targeted. This was personal. This was what happened when you got too close to someone the world felt they owned. And things were about to get even worse. The tweet dropped like a bomb at 3:47 a.m. Ursula was asleep when it happened. Finally asleep after hours of scrolling through hate comments and threatening messages and trying to convince herself that none of it mattered. She had 17 days left. 17 days until graduation. 17 days until she could disappear to China and leave all of this behind. But Solange Beaumont had other plans. At Solange Beaumont, after 2 years of love and loyalty, I've been betrayed. Tristan has been cheating on me with his security guard for weeks. I'm heartbroken, but I refuse to be silent. Women deserve to know the truth about the men they trust. #heartbroken, #the other woman. The tweet was accompanied by photos. In photos that had been carefully selected, or carefully manipulated, to tell a very specific story. Ursula and Tristan at the photo shoot standing close together. Ursula and Tristan in the penthouse kitchen, that late-night conversation about their fathers captured through a window by God knows who. Ursula and Tristan at their first event, his hand on her lower back as he helped steady her from a near fall. All innocent moments, all professional moments, all twisted into something they weren't. By the time Ursula woke up at 7 a.m., the tweet had gone viral. 50,000 retweets, 100,000 likes. The hashtag Justice for Solange was trending worldwide. Entertainment news sites were running stories. Talk shows were discussing it. The Tristange fanbase had mobilized into a full-scale attack. The comments were worse than before. So much worse. Home-wrecking trash. She looks like she crawled out of a discount funeral home. Her father is a criminal. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Solange is a queen. This nobody is nothing. I hope she gets what she deserves. We're going to make her life hell. Someone should teach her a lesson. And then the DMs. Hundreds of them. Thousands. Threats, slurs, promises of violence, photos of her apartment building that someone had found online, screenshots of her father's mugshot with captions like father, like daughter. Ursula's hands were shaking so badly she could barely hold her phone. And then she did something she'd been doing more often ever since she visited her father. She sat on the edge of her bed in her guest suite in a billionaire's penthouse, and surrounded by more luxury than she'd ever known, and she cried. Tristan found her an hour later. She'd pulled herself together by then, barely, but her eyes were still red and her hands were still unsteady. She was packing, throwing her meager possessions into the duffel bag she'd arrived with, moving on autopilot. What are you doing? She didn't turn around. Leaving. Ursula, I saw the tweet. I saw the photos. I saw what she said. Ursula's voice was flat, empty. This is exactly what I was trying to avoid. This is why I've spent 3 years being invisible. And now my face is everywhere. My father's face is everywhere, and people are threatening to hurt me. Those threats aren't real. They're just trolls. You don't know that. She finally turned to face him, and the rawness in her expression made him step back. You don't know what it's like to have your whole life dragged into public, to have people judge you for things you didn't do, to have strangers decide they hate you based on a tweet from your client's jealous girlfriend. She's not my girlfriend, not anymore. I ended things with her secretly. Ursula blinked at him. She hadn't known that, hadn't heard of it. But why did learning about it give her a little thrill? Then maybe you should fix that. Ursula zipped her bag. I'm done, Tristan. I'm sorry. I know I agreed to a month, but I can't do this. I can't be the reason your life falls apart. My life isn't falling apart. It will. If you stay connected to me, it will. She looked at him, and there was something broken in her eyes. I've seen this before. My father made one bad choice, and it destroyed everything. My mother couldn't handle the shame, so she left. Everyone we knew turned their backs on us. That's what happens when you're associated with scandal. People run. I'm not running. You should. She shouldered her bag. I'm going back to my apartment. I'll finish my degree, graduate, and get on a plane to China. And in a few weeks, this will all blow over and everyone will forget I existed. And if I don't want to forget? The words stopped her cold. Tristan crossed the room until he was standing directly in front of her, close enough that she could see the circles under his eyes, the tension in his jaw, the crack in his carefully maintained composure. I don't care about Solange's tweet, he said. I don't care about the trolls or the tabloids or the trending hashtags. I care about you. Tristan, I know we agreed this was professional. I know you're leaving in 17 days. I know this is complicated and messy and probably a terrible idea. He reached out and took her hand. But I also know that meeting you is the best thing that's happened to me in years. You see me, not the image, not the brand, me. And I'm not ready to let that go just because some actress with a bruised ego decided to throw a tantrum on social media. Ursula's heart was pounding. Her eyes were stinging. Everything in her wanted to stay, to believe him, to let herself fall. But she'd been abandoned before, by her mother. by every employer who'd looked at her background check and decided she wasn't worth the risk, by a world that had never given her a fair chance. She couldn't survive being abandoned again. "I'm not good for you," she whispered. "I'm the daughter of a criminal. I have nothing to offer you except complications. You have everything to offer me." His grip on her hand tightened. "You have honesty, integrity, strength. You're the only person in my life who tells me the truth even when it's hard to hear. Do you know how rare that is? Do you know how long I've been waiting for someone real?" "Tristan, stay, please. Let me handle Solange. Let me fix this." She should say no. She should walk away while she still could. But when she looked into his eyes, those dark, sparkly eyes that had annoyed her so much that first day, she saw something she hadn't expected. Fear. Real fear. The fear of losing something precious. "Okay," she heard herself say. "I'll stay, for now." His whole body sagged with relief. Thank you. But you need to end things with Solange. Publicly. Clearly. No more ambiguity. I'm doing it today. Right now. I should have done it months ago. And I need you to understand something." Ursula pulled her hand back gently. "I have abandonment issues. Deep ones. My mother walked out without a word, and I've spent 3 years expecting everyone else to do the same. If you're saying stuff like I should stay and the likes, you have to be sure. Because if you... I'm not leaving." His voice was fierce. "I'm not your mother. I'm not the people who looked at your background and decided you weren't worth the chance. I'm here, Ursula. I'm staying." For the first time in 3 years, Ursula Rain let herself believe someone. Tristan ended things with Solange that afternoon. He did it publicly, as promised. A statement released through his publicist, clear and unambiguous. "After much reflection, I am announcing that my relationship with Solange Beaumont has ended. This decision was mutual and made with respect for both our futures. The allegations made in her recent social media post are entirely false. Ursula Rain is my employee, nothing more, and the photos shared were deliberately taken out of context to create a false narrative. I ask that the public respect both our privacies during this time. It was professional. Measured. Exactly what a billionaire CEO should say. It did absolutely nothing to stop the chaos. Because Solange Beaumont did not take rejection well. Her defense interview aired 3 days later. Solange, perfectly styled in a white dress designed to make her look innocent and victimized, she sat across from one of the most watched entertainment journalists in the country. Her eyes were wet with carefully manufactured tears. Her voice trembled at all the right moments. "I gave him 2 years of my life," she said, dabbing at her eyes with a tissue. 2 years of supporting his career, attending his events, being the perfect girlfriend. And this is how he repays me? By cheating with some nobody security guard? You're certain there was an affair? I have eyes, don't I?" Solange laughed bitterly. "I saw how he looked at her. I saw how he found excuses to be near her. A woman knows when she's being replaced. And what about her background? Her father is a convicted bank robber." "Exactly." Solange leaned forward, her expression shifting from wounded to vindictive. "That's what I don't understand. Tristan comes from a good family. He has standards. Or I thought he did. But clearly, he's been seduced by someone who doesn't have the moral foundation to..." She kept talking, but Ursula had heard enough. She turned off the TV and sat in silence in her guest suite, hands clenched in her lap. Seduced. Moral foundation. Convicted bank robber. Every word designed to destroy her. To make her unhireable, undateable, untouchable. To punish her for the crime of existing in Tristan's space. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "You should have listened. Now you're going to pay." Attached was a photo. Her apartment building in Overtown. The one she still technically rented. With a circle drawn around her window. Ursula's blood went cold. She went to Tristan immediately. "These aren't just online trolls anymore," she said. "I'm showing him the message. Someone knows where I live. Someone is watching." Tristan's expression darkened. "I'm calling Dexter. We're increasing security." "I don't need more security. I need to leave." She pulled back from him. Don't you see what's happening? Every day I stay here, the target on my back gets bigger, and on yours. Your brand is taking hits. Your business relationships are strained. I saw the articles. Sponsors are reconsidering their partnerships because of the scandal. I don't care about sponsors. You should. You've spent years building Tristan Lux. You can't let it fall apart because of me. I'm not letting anything fall apart, and I'm not letting you walk into danger alone. He grabbed her shoulders. Ursula, listen to me. Those threats are serious. You can't go back to your apartment. Yet you can't be unprotected. So what? I hide here forever? Wait for the mob to get bored? You let me handle it. Let Dexter handle the security. Let my lawyers handle Solange. His grip tightened. Please, I can't. He stopped, swallowed, started again. I can't lose you. Ursula looked at him, this ridiculous, arrogant, surprisingly tender man, and felt her resolve crumbling. Fine, she said, but you don't keep anything about it from me. Agreed. And Tristan? Yes? Thank you for fighting for me. Something soft crossed his face. Always. But staying out of the public eye was harder than either of them anticipated, because 2 days later, the second disaster struck. The call came at 6 a.m. Tristan was in an emergency meeting with his financial team, something Ursula wasn't allowed to attend. She was in her quarters, studying Mandarin, trying to pretend her life wasn't imploding, when Noel burst through her door. You need to come. Now. His face was pale. His hands were shaking. She'd never seen him look scared before. What happened? Someone stole money, a lot of money, from Tristan's accounts. Ursula's blood ran cold. How much? $15 million. The money that was supposed to finalize the flagship store construction. Noel's voice cracked. And the evidence? Ursula, the evidence points to you. The conference room was chaos when she arrived. Barbara was there, her face a mask of cold fury. Elliot was there, frantically working on a laptop. Dexter was there, standing guard by the door. And Tristan was there, looking at a screen full of financial records with an expression she'd never seen before. Lost. Completely lost. Explain this, Barbara snapped the moment Ursula walked in. Explain how $15 million disappeared from my son's accounts, transferred to offshore accounts, using access codes that were traced back to your tablet. That's impossible. I don't have access to financial accounts. You have access to the building, to his personal spaces, to everything. Barbara's voice was ice. I knew you were trouble the moment you walked in here. The daughter of a thief, and now look. You've done exactly what your father did. Stolen from someone who trusted you. I didn't steal anything. The evidence says otherwise. Barbara pulled up a document. Access logs. Financial transfers. A digital trail that leads directly to you. The police are on their way. Ursula's head was spinning. This was impossible. She hadn't touched anything related to money. She barely knew how to use the tablet Elliot had given her for scheduling. But someone had done this. Someone with access. Someone who wanted to destroy her. Tristan. She turned to him, desperate. You know me. You know I would never. I know. His voice was quiet, but firm. I know you didn't do this. Tristan. Barbara was apoplectic. The evidence. I don't care about the evidence. He looked up from the screen, and his eyes found Ursula's. You took exactly what you were owed that first day, not a penny more. You threw $1,800 back in my face rather than take money that wasn't yours. A woman like that doesn't steal $15 million. People change? Not like that, not her. He stood up. Someone framed her, and we're going to find out who. Barbara's face contorted with rage. You're being foolish, blinded by whatever this infatuation is. This girl has manipulated you from day one, and now she's stolen your construction funds and you're defending her? Yes? Then you're a fool, and I'm calling the police. She pulled out her phone. But before she could dial, Noel spoke up. It wasn't Ursula. Everyone turned to look at him. He'd been so quiet in the corner that they'd almost forgotten he was there. How would you know? Barbara's voice dripped condescension. Because I've been tracking the real thief. Noel pulled out his own tablet, fingers flying across the screen. Elliot helped me set up a monitoring system after the first security breach last year, the one nobody talks about. When the money disappeared this morning, it triggered alerts. What alerts? Alerts that tracked the actual digital footprint, not the fake one that was planted to frame Ursula. He turned the screen to face the room. The real access codes came from inside this building, from a device that's been connected to our network for years. Whose device? Tristan demanded. Noel looked directly at Barbara. Mom's. Type, plot twist, if you did not see that coming, because Barbara Streefield just got caught and Karma is about to deliver a knockout blow. The silence in the conference room was deafening. Barbara's face had gone white, then red, then a strange mottled combination of both. That's ridiculous, she said, but her voice wavered. I would never. The digital trail doesn't lie. Noel's voice was steady, but Ursula could see his hands shaking. This was his mother, the woman who'd ignored him his whole life, but still, his mother. You set up a fake access point on Ursula's tablet. Then you used your own device to transfer the money, routing it through her system to make it look like she did it. Why would I steal from my own son? Because you're desperate. The voice came from the doorway. Everyone turned. Tristan's lawyers had arrived. 3 of them, in sharp suits, carrying even sharper briefcases. The lead attorney, a formidable woman named Nikita Milo, was holding a folder. We've been auditing your financials, Mrs. Streefield, Nikita said, as part of the investigation, and we found some discrepancies. Discrepancies? Your personal accounts are empty. Have been for months. You've been siphoning money from Tristan's business accounts for years. Small amounts, hard to notice. But it added up. When Tristan started tightening financial oversight last quarter, you lost access to your usual channels. Barbara's face was crumbling, the mask of perfect composure finally cracking. So you got creative, Nikita continued. You needed a large sum fast, your debts were coming due, and you needed someone to blame. Enter Miss Rain, perfect scapegoat, troubled background, easy to frame. This is speculation. It's evidence. Patricia opened her folder and spread documents across the table. Wire transfers, account records, correspondence with a financial consultant who helped you set up the offshore accounts. You weren't as careful as you thought, Mrs. Streefield. Tristan was staring at his mother like he'd never seen her before. You did this, he said slowly. You stole from me. And then you tried to blame Ursula, someone who's done nothing but help this family, to cover your tracks. Tristan, you don't understand. I understand perfectly. His voice was cold now, colder than Ursula had ever heard it. You've never cared about anyone but yourself. Not me, not Noel. Just yourself and your lifestyle and your image. And when that was threatened, you were willing to destroy an innocent woman to save yourself. She's not innocent. She's a criminal's daughter. She is the most honest person I have ever met. Tristan's voice rose. And you? His voice cracked. You're fired. As my manager, as my advisor, as anything. I get out of my building. Barbara's composure shattered completely. You can't do this to me. I'm your mother. Everything you have is because of me. Everything I have is in spite of you. Tristan turned to the lawyers. Press charges for embezzlement, fraud, and filing a false report. Let her explain to a judge why she tried to frame an innocent woman for her crimes. Tristan, please. But Dexter was already moving forward, taking Barbara's arm, escorting her toward the door. She screamed. She fought. She called Tristan every name she could think of. But she was gone. But they weren't done yet. Because Solange Beaumont was still out there, still running her mouth on every talk show that would have her, still painting Ursula as a home-wrecking gold digger. And someone had sent those threatening messages. Someone had taken that photo of her apartment. Barbara might have been behind the financial fraud, but the harassment campaign had Solange's fingerprints all over it. We can prove it, Elliot said that evening. The messages, the photos, the coordinated attacks. Solange's assistant has been orchestrating the whole thing, probably on her orders. Noel and I found the digital trail. How? Ursula asked. Noel's scary good with computers, like actually scary. Elliot shot Noel a look that was half admiration, half alarm. He traced the fake accounts, the VPNs, everything. It all leads back to Solange's team. So what do we do? Tristan smiled, and it wasn't a nice smile. We give Solange exactly what she wanted. Attention. The press conference was scheduled for the following afternoon. Tristan Luck's headquarters. In every major media outlet invited. Cameras everywhere. And when Tristan walked out to the podium, the crowd went silent. He was wearing white and gold, his power colors, and his expression was calm. Controlled. The face of a man who was about to destroy someone's career and look good doing it. Thank you all for coming, he began. I know there's been a lot of speculation about my personal life lately. I'm here to set the record straight. He glanced off stage where Ursula was waiting with Noel and Elliot. First, regarding my former relationship with Solange Beaumont. Our relationship ended because it had run its course. There was no cheating. There was no affair. Or the photos she shared were deliberately taken out of context to create a false narrative. And I have evidence that they were manipulated by members of her team. A murmur went through the crowd. Second, regarding the harassment campaign against my employee, Ursula Rain. For weeks, Miss Rain has been subjected to threats, doxing, and coordinated online attacks. My security team has traced these attacks to accounts directly connected to Solange Beaumont's management team. The murmur grew louder. Third, regarding the financial irregularities at Tristan Luck's. This morning, charges were filed against my former manager, Barbara Streefield, my mother, for embezzlement and fraud. Miss Rain was innocent of any wrongdoing. She was framed. Cameras flashed. Reporters shouted questions. Tristan held up a hand. I have one more thing to say. He turned and looked directly at the camera. Solange, I know you're watching. You wanted to destroy someone who never did anything to hurt you. You weaponized your fan base, your platform, your public image, all to punish a woman whose only crime was doing her job. That ends now. He held up a folder. This contains documentation of everything. The fake accounts, the coordinated harassment, the threats. My lawyers are filing a civil suit against you this afternoon. But more importantly, this folder is going to every media outlet that gave you a platform to spread lies about an innocent woman. Let's see how your career survives when the truth comes out. He set the folder down and stepped back from the podium. That's all. No questions. He walked off stage without looking back. The room erupted. The fallout was swift and merciless. Within hours, the hashtag Solange lied was trending worldwide, replacing hashtag Justice for Solange at the top of social media. Entertainment journalists who had been so eager to platform her victim narrative were now running stories about her alleged harassment campaign. Her team released a statement denying involvement, but the evidence was damning. By the end of the week, 3 brands had dropped her from endorsement deals. Her upcoming film role was under review. The Tristange fanbase, confronted with proof that their queen had orchestrated a harassment campaign against an innocent woman, turned on her with the same vicious energy they'd previously directed at Ursula. The internet giveth, and the internet taketh away. As for Barbara Streefield, the legal system was slower but no less decisive. Charged with embezzlement, fraud, and conspiracy, she was denied bail due to flight risk concerns. Her lawyers were already negotiating a plea deal, but the numbers weren't in her favor. She was looking at years, not months. The woman who had spent her whole life obsessed with image was about to discover what it felt like to be invisible. Truly invisible. The way she'd made Noel feel his entire life. Karma, as they say, was a beautiful thing. Now, if you've been waiting for the antagonist to get what they deserve, type "Karma delivered" in the comments. Barbara caught. Solange exposed. Justice served. But we're not done yet. Because Ursula still has a plane ticket to China, and Tristan still hasn't said everything he needs to say. 3 weeks later, Ursula graduated. And it was a quiet ceremony. She hadn't invited anyone except Marin. But when she walked across the stage to receive her diploma in Mandarin studies, she felt something she hadn't felt in years. Pride. Genuine pride. She'd done it, despite everything. Despite her father's arrest and her mother's abandonment and 3 years of struggling alone. She'd finished what she started, and now it was time for the next chapter. Her flight to China was booked for the following week. She'd already lined up a teaching position at a language school in Shenzhen. Her bags were packed. Her apartment lease was terminated. Everything was in order, except for one thing. "You're really leaving?" Noel found her in her guest suite that evening, surrounded by packed boxes. And he was holding his sketchbook, the same one she'd pushed him to show Tristan all those weeks ago. "That was always the plan," she said. "1 month, then China. The month is over." "I know." Noel was quiet for a moment. Then he held out the sketchbook. "I want you to have this." Ursula's eyes widened. "Noel, I can't take your work." "It's not my work." "Well, it is, but—" He flipped it open to show her. "I made this for you." Inside was a comic. A short one, maybe 15 pages, but complete. The story of a girl in all black who threw eggs at a billionaire's car, who took down 3 guards while multitasking with breakfast foods, who befriended a lonely artist and changed his life, who found family in the most unexpected place. The artwork was stunning. The story was funny and touching and perfectly Noel. And the last panel was the girl walking away, suitcase in hand, while behind her, a man in a ridiculous gold blazer watched with heartbreak in his eyes. Caption: "She left without looking back." Ursula felt tears pricking at her eyes. "Noel, you're the first person who ever saw me. Really saw me." His voice was thick. Not Tristan's weird brother, not the embarrassment Barbara wanted to hide. Just me. "Do you know how long I've waited for someone to do that?" "Noel. And you're leaving." "Which I get, I do. You have a plan, you've had it for years, and I'm not going to tell you to give up your dreams for some guy you've known for a month." He took a breath. "But I wanted you to know that you matter. You matter to me, and if you ever want to come back—" He couldn't finish. Ursula pulled him into a hug. "You matter to me too," she whispered. "So much. And this isn't goodbye forever. It's just goodbye for now." When they pulled apart, both of them were crying. "You better video call me," Noel said. "I want updates on everything. The food, the culture, the weird things you see on the street." "I will, I promise. And maybe—" He hesitated. "Maybe talk to Tristan before you go? He's been miserable. Won't admit it, but I can tell." "I don't know if that's a good idea." "Since when do you care about good ideas? You threw eggs at a Rolls Royce." Ursula laughed despite herself. "Fair point." She found Tristan on the rooftop terrace. It was late, nearly midnight, and the Miami skyline glittered below them like scattered diamonds. He was standing at the railing, looking out at the city he'd conquered, and he looked more alone than she'd ever seen him. "Noel said I'd find you here." He didn't turn around. "Noel talks too much." That got a small laugh. "Maybe." Ursula crossed to stand beside him at the railing. For a moment, neither of them spoke. "I'm leaving tomorrow," she finally said. "My flight is at 2 p.m. "I know. You're not going to try to stop me?" Now he turned to look at her. His eyes were red-rimmed. Had he been crying? Would it work if I did? Probably not. Then no. He turned back to the skyline. "I'm not going to beg you to stay. I'm not going to make promises I can't keep or declarations that would only make this harder. You have a dream. You've had it for years. I don't have the right to ask you to give that up for someone you've known for several weeks. Tristan, but I want you to know something." His voice cracked. "Meeting you was the best thing that ever happened to me. You saw through every wall I've ever built. You told me the truth when everyone else told me what I wanted to hear. You saved my brother. You saved me. You saved yourself. Maybe. But you showed me it was possible." He finally met her eyes. "I love you, Ursula. I've loved you since you threw my money back in my face and walked away like I was nothing. And wherever you go, whatever you do, that's not going to change." Ursula felt the tears streaming down her face. "I love you too," she whispered. That's why I have to leave. I don't understand. Because if I stay, if I let myself fall any deeper, I won't be able to leave. And I've spent 3 years building toward this moment. 3 years of planning my escape, of learning a new language, of preparing for a fresh start. I can't just abandon all of that because I fell for a beautiful idiot who can't dress himself in anything but designer labels. Tristan laughed, a wet, broken sound. The labels are important. They're really not. I know. He reached out and took her hand. Go to China. Teach English. Start your new life. But Ursula? Yes? Don't close the door forever. Whatever this is between us, it's rare, it's real. And maybe someday, when you found what you're looking for. He couldn't finish. Ursula squeezed his hand. Maybe someday, she agreed. Might they stood there together, holding hands, watching the city lights, knowing that tomorrow everything would change. But for tonight, just for tonight, they had each other. The airport was chaos. Ursula stood in the terminal, boarding pass in hand, watching the departures board with a strange numbness. Her flight was boarding in 20 minutes. In 3 hours, she'd be over the Pacific Ocean. In 15 hours, she'd be in a new country. A new life. This was what she wanted. What she'd worked for. So why did it feel like her heart was being ripped out of her chest? Her phone buzzed. A text from Noel. Don't look back. You'll be amazing. She smiled despite herself. Then she picked up her carry-on and headed for the gate. The line was short. Most passengers had already boarded. She handed her boarding pass to the gate agent. I'd walked down the jetway and found her seat by the window. Deep breaths. This was happening. She was really doing this. She buckled her seatbelt, put in her earbuds, closed her eyes. The plane began filling up. Announcements played. The flight attendants went through safety procedures. And then, ladies and gentlemen, we apologize for the delay. A passenger has been requested to deplane as she is traveling with something that doesn't belong to her. Ursula's eyes flew open. The flight attendant was looking directly at her. Miss Rain, could you come with me, please? What the hell? Ursula unbuckled her seatbelt, grabbed her bag, and followed the flight attendant back up the jetway, her heart pounding. Had they found something in her luggage? Had Barbara managed one final act of sabotage? But when she emerged into the terminal, she stopped dead. Because standing at the gate, causing an absolute commotion as passengers recognized him and pulled out their phones, was Tristan Strefield. And beside him, grinning like this was the best day of his life, was Noel. What are you doing here? Tristan crossed the distance between them in 3 strides. You're traveling with something that doesn't belong to you. What are you talking about? I checked everything. My heart. His voice cracked. You're leaving with my heart. I need it back. Ursula stared at him. Did you seriously make them delay a flight so you could deliver a cheesy line? It's not cheesy. It's romantic. It's cheesy. Fine, it's cheesy. He grabbed her hands. But it's also true. I let you walk away last night because I thought it was the right thing to do. I thought I was being noble, giving you space, respecting your dreams. That was the right thing to do. No, it was cowardly. His eyes were fierce. The right thing to do is fight. Fight for what you want. Fight for the person you love. And I love you, Ursula. I love your stubbornness and your honesty and your terrible fashion choices. Excuse me? I love that you threw eggs at my car. I love that you threw my money back at me. I love that you saw my brother when no one else did. That you stood up to my mother. That you never once let me get away with being the arrogant idiot I was when we met. Ursula was crying. When had she started crying? Tristan, don't get on that plane. His voice broke. Please, stay with me. Not forever. Not if you don't want forever, but just stay. Let me prove that I can be what you need. Let me show you that you don't have to run anymore. I'm not running. I'm starting over. Then start over here, with me. He pulled something out of his pocket, a folded piece of paper, and pressed it into her hands. I bought a building in Little Havana. It's perfect for a language school. I already started the paperwork for permits. You could teach Mandarin here, build something of your own, and you'd still be close enough to... He couldn't finish. Ursula looked at the paper. A deed, a language school, a future she hadn't imagined but suddenly wanted more than anything. You bought a building? I bought a building. For me? For you. For us. For whatever we become. He gripped her hands tighter. And if that's not enough, I talked to some people about a self-defense studio too. For kids. You could teach martial arts again. And use the skills your father gave you for something good. Ursula was sobbing now. Full, ugly sobs that she couldn't control. You can't just, this is crazy. This is love. His voice was steady despite the tears streaming down his own face. This is what it looks like when someone refuses to let you go. This is what you deserve, Ursula. Someone who fights for you. Someone who stays. Behind him, Noel was openly crying. Several passengers had stopped pretending not to watch and were filming everything. A flight attendant was dabbing at her eyes with a napkin. And Ursula Rain, who had spent 3 years planning her escape, looked at the man in front of her. The ridiculous, arrogant, impossibly tender man who had crashed into her life and refused to leave, and made a choice. I hate you, she said. Tristan's face fell. Said what? I hate you for making me feel things. I hate you for making me want to stay. I hate you for buying a building. I can return the building. Don't you dare return the building. She grabbed the front of his shirt and pulled him close. I love you, you dramatic, over-the-top, fashion-obsessed idiot. I love you so much it terrifies me, and I'm not getting on that plane. Tristan's face transformed. Joy. Pure, unfiltered joy. You're staying? I'm staying. He kissed her. Right there in the middle of the airport terminal, with cameras flashing and passengers cheering and Noel screaming, finally, at the top of his lungs. He kissed her like she was the only person in the world. And for the first time in 3 years, Ursula Rain stopped running. And 6 months later, the grand opening of Rain Language Academy was everything Ursula had dreamed of and more. The building Tristan had bought was perfect, bright and airy, with classrooms for Mandarin, Spanish, Portuguese, and more. The walls were decorated with art from local students, including several pieces by Noel, whose first graphic novel had just been picked up by a major publisher. The self-defense studio was in the building next door. Classes ran every evening, and the waitlist was 3 months long. Kids from all over Miami were learning the same skills Ursula's father had taught her: discipline, confidence, the ability to protect themselves and others. Leo Rain had been there for the ribbon cutting, released early on good behavior, crying as he watched his daughter build something beautiful from the ashes of his mistakes. I'm proud of you, baby girl, he'd said. More proud than I've ever been of anything. Their relationship was still complicated. Probably always would be. But they were working on it. As for Tristan, you're wearing color. Ursula looked down at her outfit. Navy blue dress. Subtle, but definitely not black. You've been leaving things in my closet again. I have no idea what you're talking about. But his grin said otherwise. Although I notice you kept the gold earrings I definitely didn't leave on your dresser. They matched the dress. They did. Almost like someone planned it. She rolled her eyes, but she was smiling. Because this was her life now. Color slowly creeping into her wardrobe. Not love slowly healing the wounds she'd carried for years. A family she'd found in the most unexpected place. Barbara Streefield was serving a 4-year sentence in federal prison. She'd tried to reach out to Tristan multiple times, but he'd blocked all communication. Some bridges couldn't be rebuilt. Solange Beaumont's career had never recovered. Last anyone heard, she was doing reality TV appearances in another country. A cautionary tale about what happens when you weaponize your platform against innocent people. And Ursula Rain, daughter of a bank robber, former delivery girl, woman who'd once thrown eggs at a billionaire's car, was standing in a language school that bore her name, surrounded by people who loved her. Speech time, Noel announced, appearing at her elbow. His first graphic novel, Art the Overlooked Hero, was tucked under his arm. He'd been signing copies all day. Everyone's waiting. Ursula took a deep breath and stepped up to the microphone. The room fell silent. Students, teachers, community members, press. all eyes on her. 3 years ago, she began, I thought my life was over. My father was in prison. My mother had left. I couldn't get a job because of a background check that told everyone I was defined by someone else's choices. She paused, finding Tristan's eyes in the crowd. I had a plan. Run away. Start over somewhere no one knew my name. Be someone else. She smiled. But then a Rolls-Royce nearly ran me off the road, and I made the deeply questionable decision to throw eggs at it. And everything changed. Laughter rippled through the crowd. I'm not going to stand here and tell you that love fixes everything. It doesn't. I still have scars. I still have bad days. I still sometimes wake up expecting everyone to leave. Her voice cracked. But I've learned something important. Running doesn't heal wounds. It just delays them. The only way through the pain is through it. With people who see you, really see you, and refuse to let you face it alone. She looked at Noel, who was grinning at her. She looked at Tristan, whose eyes were suspiciously wet. She looked at her father, who was smiling through his tears. This school is named Rain, she concluded, because I want every student who walks through these doors to know that their circumstances don't define them. Their parents' choices don't define them. And the only thing that defines you is what you choose to do next. She raised her glass. To new beginnings, to second chances. The room erupted in applause, and as Tristan crossed to her side, pulling her into a kiss that definitely wasn't appropriate for a formal event, Ursula Rain knew she was exactly where she was supposed to be. If this story made you laugh, cry, and scream at your screen, drop a comment and tell me your favorite moment. Was it the egg attack? The airport scene? Barbara getting caught? Solange getting exposed? Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss another story. Until next time, stay strong, stay stubborn, and never be afraid to throw eggs at someone who deserves it.